there's been a lot of volatility when it comes to the Fed. So if we turn around and we look at last month, there was a 96% chance in October that the Fed was going to cut rates on the next meeting, December 10th. 96% chance. Then Jerome Powell spoke, and that went from a 96% chance that the Fed was going to cut rates in December 10th down to a 40% chance. Now, if we look at the CME group, which is the Fed watching tool that they do predictions on what the Fed is going to do, now they're predicting that on December 10th, that there's a 70% chance or a 73% chance that the Fed will cut rates. Well, welcome to the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. For this show, we're going to be talking about NAR's sales forecast for 2026. We're also going to talk about affordability. Zillow came out with an article talking about affordability and the Fed. What are they going to do on December 10th? So let's just jump into NAR, the National Association of Realtors. They came out with their projection of a 14% increase in sales. So if we look over the past 3 years, we've had a recession basically on sales when it comes to real estate, about 4 million transactions per year, and it's been pretty consistent each year for the past 3 years. Now they're suggesting, or they're predicting, that it's going to go up 14%. So if sales go up 14%, we are talking about 560,000 more sales. Now, anybody in the real estate business knows typically there are two sides to a sale, meaning you have a selling agent, you have a buyer's agent. So if we have 560,000 more sales, that means sides, there'll be over 1 million more sides, which will be really good for the market. It'll really help out. Now, we're not getting crazy. We're not talking about having 8 million sales, 7 million sales like we did in 2020, 2021. But listen, any increase is a positive as far as, especially if you're a real estate agent, a mortgage person, a title person, insurance, anybody in the real estate field. So let's hope that the NAR prediction comes out to be correct. That means 2026 will be a better year than 2025. Also, Zillow came out with an article on affordability. Affordability hit a 3-year best, meaning it's more affordable to buy a house today than it was last year or the year before. So it's better now than before. Now, I know it's not affordable. Everything is super expensive, without question. Get it. Got it. But there are things that have happened that are making buying a house a little bit more affordable. Number one, interest rates. Well, if we turn around and we look at last year, last December, last January, interest rates were 7 to 7.25. Well, right now, interest rates are in between 6 to 6.25, maybe 6.375. Once again, interest rates are based on credit scores, down payment, what kind of program you're doing. But interest rates are pretty much 1% lower today than they were before. So if my interest rate's a little bit lower, my monthly payment's going to be a little bit lower. It makes a house a little bit more affordable. Also, appreciation. Appreciation is going up 1.2% so far this year. So that's at the slowest rate in quite some time. Because if we turn around and we look at 2020, well, houses went up 15, 16, 17% in a year. So the slowing down of appreciation is also helping the affordability. Now, remember, real estate is local. So you could be in some parts of the country where the appreciation didn't appreciate. It depreciated. It actually, prices went down. And other parts of the country, they went up far more than that 1.2%. But on average, if we take nationwide, the appreciation 1.2%. So that helped. And why is that? A little bit more inventory is coming online, is one of the things. So we have buyers who are still staying on the sideline, and we also have the sellers deciding not to move and stay put. So inventory has increased a little bit, and this is a little bit year over year. It's been increasing, and the appreciation has slowed down dramatically. Also, incomes have gone up. Once again, I understand everything's expensive, everybody's broke, people don't have money, but on average, incomes have gone up 4.6%. So if we have appreciation at 1.2% and my income's gone up 4.6%, it makes it a little bit easier to buy that house along with those interest rates coming down. So interesting story on Zillow, makes a lot of sense, and crunching those numbers, it is the most affordable time to buy currently over the past 3 years. Still super unaffordable because depending on where you're buying, where you're selling, prices have gone up, appreciation been anywhere between 30 to 50% nationwide. So incomes didn't go up that much, but still getting a little bit better, and that's all we can do. Take baby steps. So now let's jump into the Fed. There's been a lot of volatility when it comes to the Fed. So if we turn around and we look at last month, there was a 96% chance in October that the Fed was going to cut rates on the next meeting, December 10th. 96% chance. Then Jerome Powell spoke, and that went from a 96% chance that the Fed was going to cut rates in December 10th down to a 40% chance. Now, if we look at the CME group, which is the Fed watching tool that they do predictions on what the Fed is going to do, now they're predicting that on December 10th that there's a 70% chance or a 73% chance that the Fed will cut rates. Some of the Fed presidents have come out, and the New York Fed, John Williams, turned around and said, hey, we really need to cut rates at least one more time in this December. So that's causing the market. So it really, really depends, a lot of this, on what the Fed's going to do. Because if you turn around and you look, every time the Fed met in the last two meetings, interest rates were at the low. We were right around hovering at that 6% interest rate. And then every time the Fed met, they cut rates the last two times, but Jerome Powell spoke, and then he flip-flopped, and he didn't have a decisive, cohesive plan on saying, yeah, we're going to continue cutting rates, just to get to a neutral stance. And we're not talking about getting to an accommodative stance, just a neutral stance. Because right now, if inflation is running around 3%, the federal fund rate is in between 3.75 or right around that 3.75. We're still at a restrictive state. We're not neutral. We would need to have the interest rates go down about 0.5% to 0.75% to be more on the neutral side. So if we get the Fed with a cohesive plan of saying, hey, we want to be neutral, that means they're going to cut rates a couple more times. That would have the markets feel a little bit more comfortable and have these interest rates come down a little bit. Now understand, the Fed fund rate is the Fed fund rate. It's not the mortgage-backed security where the mortgages come from, but they do all work together hand in hand. They all tie together, and they all generally swim in that same direction. So the lower the federal fund rate, the lower the 30-year fix generally happens. So we're going to see what ends up happening. We still have another week or so before the Fed gets together, and there's going to be more news come out. So who knows if it goes up, goes back down, but the swings have been incredible, from 96 to 40 to now 73%. So we're going to see what happens. Well, that was your little update of what's going on with affordability. Also, NAR's prediction on housing sales, and what's causing these volatility in interest rates every time a federal president speaks. A federal fund president, like either from Philadelphia, from New York, wherever, when they start talking, it really causes these fluctuations in the market. So that's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Hope you enjoyed it. If you can subscribe, really help me out. I'm getting close to 50,000. That's my goal, to hit that 50,000. Also do likes, really helps the algorithm. You can follow the show on Facebook and Instagram, and of course on YouTube. That's where we air. YouTube, The Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Hope you enjoyed